What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Best Foot Forward podcast. It's me, Vic, from Cestlavic. I'm a sneaker artist based out of San Francisco. And here with me,
I am Ann Duskus. I have Studio Duskus. I am a footwear designer and consultant, also based in San Francisco. And welcome to our studio.
Yes. So what do we want to talk about today, Ann?
Let's talk about something that's super relevant to us right now because we're not a negative thing, okay, but this word just has negative connotation to it. We're sort of like lagging on this aspect of our business. But to post or not to post on, let's just say Instagram, be super specific, because that's like our main social channel.
Yeah. I am in the middle of a dry spell on Instagram, so
not a bad thing.
I can't tell you how relevant this is to me right now. And you too, because you're just coming back from vacation. Mm-hmm. Although not really, because you've been working on another project with Instagram too. Like you've been posting on another account,
but not
your own.
You've
been in a little dry spell.
Oh, 100%.
Studio Duskus.
But it's so interesting because like, what is a dry spell, right? Dry spell... Okay, let's define dry spell. Dry spell basically means to me, and feel free to chime in, is just a period of time, an extended period of time where you don't post anything, not even new, but something significant, right? Like so, like regardless of like, I don't count stories as a post, right? Like to us, like we count an actual like post on our grid as a post, or a reel as a post. Like that's a post. And those takes us a long time to get the right content and the caption for us to feel good about.
It's the permanence of it existing on your page, right? Whereas stories disappear after 24 hours.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, okay, tell me about your dry spell. Like why has it been sort of just not fulfilling for you?
I just don't feel like I want to post. That's the reason. And I'm actually quite like, it is looming on me where it's like, oh, Vicky, you haven't posted in a long time. Like this is your livelihood. Your business depends on Instagram and you're not posting anything. But I'm at peace with it because I feel like I don't have anything good to post. It's like if you don't have anything nice to say, silence is okay. And I feel like that's what I want to do for Instagram, where I don't just want to create content for the sake of creating content. And I think that that's okay.
That's totally okay. And I love that you said that silence is okay. It's almost like being silence on social media, I feel like makes a lot of people feel uncomfortable. Yeah. Because I think you've told me where like when you have a dry spell and you haven't posted for a while, like you get DMs, people like asking you, is like, Vicky, are you okay?
Are you alive?
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's almost like getting comfortable with that silence. Like even like in conversation, is like being comfortable with that sort of like brief moment of silence, like in between your conversation.
Yeah. And I think, we consider it a quote unquote dry spell, and that's maybe a couple of weeks. But in the grand scheme of things, are there people, minus the people that actually do DM us to check if we're okay, does everybody even realize that we're gone?
Yeah, I mean, for me, nobody realized that. Only because, like, again, like, I feel like, following count-wise, like, I only have, like, a quarter of your following count. Which I'm, like, again, I'm totally okay with because I'm, like, that's how I want to run my business. And that's what works for me. So, like, totally okay with that.
We always say, between the two of us, followers and following count, actually, let's say following count doesn't matter. It's really about, like, having the followers that do really care about what you're posting. That's truly what matters. But like the number doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like for me, okay, let's talk about like how long I have not posted on my personal account. And I feel like it's been like 2 months.
Yeah. Do you feel guilty?
2 months. Oh, 100%. If I'm being honest with myself. But like, why do I feel guilty? It's like nobody's holding. I don't like to use that phrase, but like nobody's making me do it. Yeah. So this is where like all the self-talk comes in. It's like, oh my gosh, like I haven't posted anything. Like, you know, people like, are people going to unfollow me, or like, are people going to like, just like, am I gonna get new opportunities in businesses because I haven't posted anything new, you know? And so that's when all the self-talk and insecurity starts to kick in.
Yeah.
But for me, I feel like I haven't, luckily for me, I haven't felt much of that. Only because of the last 2 months I haven't been able to post anything is because I've been focusing on projects for my clients. And so I feel like, you know, it's not because I don't want to, but then it's also because a lot of the projects that we're working on, like, we can't really post about them. Like currently, you know, the live project that we're working on.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, you've signed an NDA, or your client hasn't received the shoes yet, haven't posted about it. And so you have to keep it a secret until it's okay to post.
Right.
And then, yeah, I think that's what really snowballed for me into this dry spell, because it's like, I can't post anything. Well, I'll just keep it a secret. I'll just put my head down and keep working. Yeah.
Right. And then also it's like all the times, and people are like, man, are they still running their business? Are they still working? It's like, yes, we're still working. Like, I promise you. And I think it's like, people are like, because people are used to seeing both of us like posting content of shoes that I guess we make for ourselves, or maybe just concept shoes that we work on for our own brand.
Yeah.
That when we actually work on other people's stuff, like we don't get to post them. And so it almost seems like we're not working, because like we're not sharing with the world what we're currently working on. And some of these projects may never see the light of day, you know, because it's like my client's business and nobody else's business.
Yeah.
And so, but at the end of the day, like I am like so happy with what I accomplished. And I think this is where, you know, hopefully for me in 2022 is to be able to find, again, like plan a little bit more in terms of balancing my client project and the project that I do for my own, like on my own, for my own brand, because I think a lot of my client projects are a result of me showcasing what I can do for myself. And so without those, you know, I feel like I'm limited to my growth, you know, as a design professional. And so, and I think, you know, towards the end of 2021, like my client list sort of reflected that, because I wasn't putting out new work, you know, and so I'm not, and I think when you don't put out new work, it almost seems as if like you're less relevant to the current market.
Yeah.
Even though you are working and you do have new work, but you just can't showcase it.
Yeah. That's how clients tend to be, is they look at your Instagram feed and they're like, I want that one. It's like they're shopping on your feed. And so whatever you have up there, I don't think they like, it's kind of like what you said in the last episode, where a company will design seasons, months, like 12 months, 24 months in advance, and then they produce, and then you can buy the stuff. Whereas when you're working on like a one-on-one basis, it's a lot slower than that. You can put something up, and then there's a lag time between when you get orders for it, or orders from clients that want something similar.
Yeah.
And then you've moved on, and you have to take that time to work on your next project, and then so on and so forth. You know, that takes a lot longer because we are not a huge team of people.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's important to remember that we are one person trying to manage our marketing, trying to manage our production, our design, like
our
everything.
admin.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh my God, communications and all that stuff. And it takes a lot longer than what it looks like online. And people just putting things up. Like, I respect people who can consistently keep up with posts, but I know that wears me down, and it's okay to have a break.
Yeah.
So
let me ask you this, because I feel like again, just as business owners, we, at least for me, like I look at what other business owners are doing on Instagram and what's their like social and marketing strategy.
Yeah.
And sometimes like I'll see someone in the same industry as me, you know, again, like we work on a project, and some of these projects we work on it for like months at a time, and we capture so much content.
Yeah.
And so of course it would seem like it would be such like a waste to just do one post, you know, of this one shoe that you worked on
for months.
So and so like how do you strategize your social content for like a single project you work on to sort of maximize the effort that you put in so that your social energy matches the actual physical making of it?
Yeah. Now that you say this, I'm reflecting on how I do things. On Instagram, sometimes I fall off of it and then sometimes I go back. But I do really like the threes and how it's like a full row of one thing. That kind of sometimes.
So like on your grid.
On my grid, it's like a 3 by however many. So
like 1 by 3.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. 1 by 3 when I post. And then sometimes it's like 6 by 3. And when you see that, it's like, oh, I have so much content that I want to share that this one project is taking up 6 squares instead of taking up 3. And that almost puts me into a pickle because I used your word pickle.
I love it.
Because for Swoosh Sundays, for example, it's such a small project, but for so many weeks, I was doing 3 posts at a time. That took up a lot of time to create that content because I needed a video, I needed pictures, and then I needed like a time lapse of some sort, like 3 different ways of presenting one project. Right?
So it's consistent for like 49 weeks.
To like maximize my output. Effort for output. And that has made it more difficult for me to restart it because I'm like, each Swoosh Sunday is going to take me a week to produce, and I don't have that time, so I'm not going to do it. But what's stopping me from literally dialing it back down and saying, I'm just going to paint a swoosh for one day and literally post that video and not take pictures
and just be done with it.
Yeah, and be done with it.
And be okay with that.
Yeah. So it's like balancing all of this stuff where I want my grid to look a certain way, or I want to present myself in a certain way, and then doing that. So again, I think while we're working, sometimes we're waiting for the finished product to post. And we don't post progress shots, or we don't post when it looks not so good yet, because shoes sometimes look like nothing. They look like crap before they look better. And, you know, I think there's a part of us that enjoys the aesthetic of how we present things that stops us from posting as frequently, or like raw photos. And then there's another thing, which I remember when you were working on a project, is when you are so busy, you forget to capture content.
Yeah.
Or you're like, screw this, I don't have time to record a time lapse, I'm just gonna do it. And time lapsing definitely adds maybe not double nowadays, but it adds several hours on top of you working.
Yeah, because I think we'll talk about this more in another episode of like, what do we do that nobody else sees? But like, if you just talk about the time lapsing, right? Like, so the difference between you and I is like, I do everything on my iPhone. I'm like, I cannot fuss with like a professional SLR, you know, but like that, even just using my iPhone, you know, it's like, I still have to get out a tripod. I still have to set up like do a top-down view, you know, but for you, who's somebody who's using SLR, it's like, okay, I have to get like a big ass like tripod out, you know, and I have to make sure like the angles are right and like, you know, and lightings are right. And so that is the part where it's like, no, I just need to do something super basic right now because I just need to create a post. And so it's almost like, check on yourself on like, what is the angle right now versus like, do you really need to be doing all these things just to get this one shot? You know, maybe not.
And yeah, totally. It's so funny how the both of us work, because we do similar things, yet our approach is so different. And I love that. I love that Ann is like the iPhone person. You will use your iPhone for everything. You know, creating content, no matter what it is. For me, I'm like, I think I was like that at the beginning, where I would just use my phone, and if like the quality wasn't up to par. I'm like, yeah, it's fine, but I did it, right? And over time now, it's been 2 years, I've slowly started to pick up learning how to use the camera. I'm still learning, but adjusting everything. Like you have to white balance all the time. You have to adjust for, your focus distance and all of these things that vary. But I do admit over time, it's gotten a lot easier.
Of course.
Except now I have this like hold up, like this backup of content that I haven't edited yet. So that's like another thing, that's holding me back. But I do hope that once everything gets settled, I can just stay at home and edit and then post or schedule posts for quite a long time and then have it going. So I think right now I'm really just working towards having a backup, almost like staying behind to be ahead, if that makes sense. So like I'm not posting now. I know.
I'm like, what does that mean?
Like I'm not posting now and there's a bit of a lag, but I think once I've collected enough materials, I can schedule that ahead of time and then that will cover up for any lag time in between for the rest of the year.
Yeah. Okay. So to post or not to post? So I also get this question a lot from when I was doing master classes like virtually for my students, and they're like, well, Ann, like, how do you keep up with like posting? And I want to talk about this because I feel like I have a sneaky suspicion that you and I have a similar answer to this. And the advice I gave them was always like, don't overthink it, just post it and build your momentum. Because I think, if you were to ask me what kind of content based on my experience that I put out to my followers on my account gets the most engagement. And I feel like for me personally, the ones that I've gotten the most engagement are always the posts that are more behind the scenes, that are the imperfected, shoot, the work in progress, before I got to the end product. Like, what about, like, is it the same for you? What do you think?
Do you remember when I was doing the Looney Tune LeBron James? I posted every single day the progress, even though progress was really slow, and consistently I got a good response from that. And I was like, oh, yeah, I can do this. This is cool. And then it kind of drops off again. And
I'm sure people are still like, Vicky, what happened to those shoes you have not posted the final
like, where's the box? I want to see the box. And that's still in play. And like, there are a lot of things. There are a lot of things going on that we're doing in the background that doesn't mean that you're not being productive again, right? So it's okay. It's okay to not post, Post when you're ready.
Yeah, post when you're ready. And I read this thing recently, and it's now becoming like my social media motto. Every time I think about posting, I need to hit one of these 3 buckets, if not more than one. So it's the 3 E's, right? Engage, entertain, or educate.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I love that because then I'm like looking back at some of my content and I was like, okay, I did not hit any of this. Like, this is why I didn't get any engagement, any like engagement. And it's interesting because now I sort of approach my strategy a little bit, like, around sort of like these 3 buckets, and anytime I hit one of these, it's like, okay, then I feel like I'm doing something right. Granted, this is not like the end all be all sort of like, instruction or advice, but I think it's a good place to start, if you're kind of wondering like, oh, I don't know what to post, or like what kind of caption should I be writing? I feel like that's helped me in terms of how I present myself.
Now, can I ask you? So recently, we had a friend come in and was like, "Oh, could you show me how to do this with the reel?" Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And both of us were like, "We're like the blind leading the blind."
Yeah. Why are you asking us? It's like we are the person you should not be consulting with when it comes to reels.
Questions like, "Oh, could I get your advice on something for social media?" And we're like,
"What? You're
who
asking
do you think
me?"
We are?
Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's fine. It's just we don't have like the greatest track record or like data for what works and what doesn't, and we also know what works. I feel like we know. At the end of the day, you know what's going to go viral, or you know.
You think you know, but then you don't really know.
Like, I know, but do you remember? Like, do you remember? She was saying like, oh, okay, the formula for a perfect reel is you show yourself, like the artist, just like a couple seconds of it, and then you go to like a time lapse, or like it could be a super short video, like 7 to 10 seconds, and you show your product, and it could just literally be like waving it around in front of the camera, and then put it to a song, and that is the formula for a perfect reel.
Which is like so strange, right? So this advice was given to them by somebody who is like,
who works at Instagram, who does social media, like. They are the people that would know.
Yeah. So is it just like people need to put a face to this artist or something?
So. Yeah.
You know, so they can make that personal connection.
It's like the human aspect of it. And were you ever, I think I remember your earlier posts, you didn't have your face in it a lot. Are you?
I mean, even these days I don't, you know, but I'm trying to.
Yeah. Have you ever been told that like people like to see the face behind,
not
or like
really
associated with your brand?
Not really. But then it was sort of over time my own observation of other what seems to be successful accounts. People like to see the face behind the brand.
Yeah.
And that's why I was trying to like convince myself to do it a little bit more, even though I know it's hard for the both of us.
Yeah. A lot of people say like, oh, I don't like showing my face. So I don't want to be out there. Initially I was like that, but then the more you do it, the less scary it seems, and the more normalized it is. Yeah. And I feel like, oh, I'm not like the most attractive girl ever. I don't want to put my face up there, or like, I don't want to, like, I'm here to show you what I can do on shoes. I'm not here to show you my face. That was the mentality. Right. Whereas I feel like just the more you post, the more normal it seems, and the easier it is. Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, at the end of the day, I'm just saying, like, we don't really like to follow trends. Yes. Both of us are like, we know what works. We know what we could, like, you could
we know what works for us.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Like, between the both of us, we'll send each other DMs about, or like we'll share reels of stuff that's like, look at these people. You know, like I sent you somebody who made basketball shoe out of basketball. I'm like, Ann, these are nothing next to your Ted Lassos. Oh my gosh. Right? So like Ann made a pair of shoes out of a football and a soccer ball, right? Or like an American football and soccer ball. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I was looking at that. I was like, these pale in comparison to what you can do. And we like laugh about it, and we're like, oh, it's like gone viral. It's got over 1 million likes or whatever. And we know that we could do that, but
yeah, and I think this is just, maybe we should just call it out too. It's like, again, like we sometimes, yes, like it sounds like we're such like mean girls, like sitting here looking at other people's posts and like hating on like, how can they get this much like attention for doing something, I guess in our minds, like, gosh, such a biatch for saying this, but like something so basic, right? But like, what's basic about it, you know, when it literally is things that we refuse to do, right? We talk about it all the time. It's like, we can do all these trendy things and garner a lot of attention because we know like what we need to do, but we literally refuse to do it. Yeah. Because that's not authentic to who we are, and it's not authentic to our brand. And that's why we don't do it. And so I think to post or not to post, at the end of the day, you just have to make a choice for yourself. It's like, what is your end goal? Is your end goal is to get 1 million likes? Is your end goal is to get 1 million followers? Yes. Then you probably need to do some really like things that you don't want to do, you know, because there's an audience for that type of content that is not true to us. And so we just decided that we are not going to do that.
If that's your definition of success, right? That's like you saying the end goal. It actually does work. I keep telling you about my friend who's posting TikToks and Reels. Yeah. And he's been doing it consistently. Like we always talk about, the key to it is posting consistently and like the same content. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't do very much. It's the same content on TikTok and Instagram. Yeah. And he has gotten over like 100K on like on average for all the videos in terms of views and likes and stuff. So I gotta say, I have to vouch for it that if that's what you're looking for likes and you're looking for impressions, that works. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if that's not your brand or that's not the content that you genuinely love making, then that means nothing to you.
Yeah, and I think it's not sustainable over time either. You know, like you might be able to do it for like a couple months and you're going to get burned out so fast.
Yeah, exactly. And it's always about taking this time. It's really good because the more time you give, the more time you give yourself to think about whether this is what you love doing or not. So if you feel guilty at the beginning, take the time to reassess whether this is the content you love to put out and then go back and do it. Otherwise, maybe you don't care about it anymore. Maybe in like 2 or 3 weeks, like, oh, it wasn't so bad. I don't want to post that kind of stuff anymore. Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so how are we going to break our dry spell? Let's address that.
You got to come back with like the biggest project ever.
Like, why put that pressure on yourself, right? That's so
stupid.
Exhausting. Yeah. Because I think that's how you feel about like Swish Sunday too. It's like, oh, I got to come back with a bang, you know? Or like, but why does it have to be like that? Okay, so let's just talk about at the very basic level. Like, how are you attempting to to break your spell?
I've been thinking about this. I can't lie. And I'm like, oh, you know, when I come back, my caption's going to be like, hey, here's why I've been gone.
But like, why do you have to defend it, right?
I don't have to.
No.
Yeah, I can literally just casually come and be like, hey, this is my post. Like, I don't even have to address the fact that I'm gone because honestly, nobody probably cares.
No one noticed except you.
Yeah, exactly. And like, who goes to... I'm not this kind of user, but who goes to people's Instagrams like, oh, they didn't post for how long, and then what did they say? And like, I'm not that obsessive with anybody, so I don't expect people to be that obsessive with me. Yeah. And so when we come back, let's see. The first post we post at the end of our dry spell is going to be telling. I don't think it has to be like an announcement or an explanation or an excuse for anything. Yeah, just... we're back here. Yeah. This is what we've been working on. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm excited to see whatever post you're posting. No pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, just get my stuff done. I've been collecting a lot of stuff. It's not that I don't have anything. Yeah. I just don't feel the rush to post.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And be okay with that.
And be okay with it. Yeah. And just post whatever you want to post whenever you want to post. Yeah. That's what Instagram should be. We have too much pressure with TikTok and Instagram and how to get likes and how to maximize productivity that none of that really matters at the end of the day.
Yeah. If it cuts into your productivity, then that's when you need to reassess. Like, okay, why am I really doing this? Yeah.
And I think the approach is really like when you do have a dry spell or creative block or whatever, we talked about this before, but doing that challenge for yourself where it's like, oh, I'm going to post, setting some kind of intention where it's like, oh, I'm going to post once per week or 3 times a week or every single day, you know? Yeah. That tends to get me back into the swing of things a lot quicker.
Yeah. 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 Goal setting is definitely very helpful. Lots of guilt if I don't hit my goals typically. So, yeah.
Set realistic goals and then set your stretch goals. Yeah. Right? That's like, oh, if I hit these easily, then I can go a little bit further. But if I don't make it, at least I hit my realistic goal. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you know what you're going to post when you come back? Have you thought about it?
Yeah. I would love to be able to share, you know, some of the project that I worked on the latter half of 2021 because they're really fun projects. Yeah. And it would just be nice to share that process because there are a lot of like behind the scenes stuff I think are very interesting. Yeah. But honestly, I'm just really excited to get back into now that I have like 2021 work done. You know, I mean, I have 2022 projects like on the table already. But again, like really getting back into doing more like concept shoes that I love doing for myself, and trying new things. And I guess like I feel like that's what people like to follow me for is to see my experimentations, you know, and all the things that I like to try and fail at. And so, so I'm looking forward to just getting back into posting a lot more like work in progress, behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, I really like your posts about different techniques, or when you break down like tips and tricks and stuff, like the little things. I feel like it's very easy for us to feel like everybody knows what our world is about.
Yeah.
But that's not always the case.
Yeah.
And me being so close to you, I have no idea what you're doing or what that little technique is, or like your little trick. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know that before. So I feel like that's like something I really enjoy seeing on your page.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Vic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to. Yeah, maybe I'll make a series out of that.
Yeah.
Drop a comment if you want me to do that.
Yes.
And
then I have one more question for you. It's like, what kind of content would you not post? Like, is there a type of post that you're like allergic to, or you just, it's not something you like to post? And,
well, we always say we're allergic to simple.
And another thing is like what I've noticed people doing is when they don't have anything to post, dry spell, they post like throwbacks.
Oh yeah,
which
that's cool.
I have done, but I don't think we do it very often.
Yeah.
Compared to other people. So like that's how I've seen a lot of customizers. They will fill in gaps. It's like, oh, I'm working on something, but like here's a throwback last year to like what I did this time.
We should do that.
We should, but I also
we have so much content.
We have so much. I'm thinking like, oh, like all my time lapse videos should technically be converted to reels, and I should just repost them because they're not in that space yet, right? And I'm like, but I look at it and I'm like, I've seen that before, you know?
But nobody else has,
Nobody else has.
And I think like,
and when we think like, okay, one post, especially when we started, so when you're doing throwbacks, it's like before you've had this number of followers, it's like maybe 50 people have seen it out of the whole.
That's true.
Right? Everybody that's on Instagram, like what's the potential that you can reach now? And just because you got 10 likes back then doesn't mean that it won't get more now, and it won't, be exposed to more people.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, sounds like we're allergic to that too.
We get bored of our own.
No, because like
if
you think about like again, we have so much content, and by the time that we can actually post it, you know, whether or not it's a secret clients project or NDA project, it could be like 6 months from now.
Yeah.
And to us, it's like, oh my God, this is such old content. Like, who wants to see this? But no one has seen it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's crazy.
It's funny.
Okay, so we need to be okay with that and letting go of the attachment that like it's old to us when it's actually really fresh and new to other people.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And things that other people don't think about that you do, that you take for granted, little things.
Yeah, for sure.
See? Posting ideas.
Oh man, all right, we need to like walk the walk.
Yeah, exactly.
Know? Yeah.
And, maybe start on TikTok, Ann.
Oh, God. Okay, we'll see. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in today. We really appreciate your time. Again, my name is Ann, and here with me is Vicky. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify. Hopefully coming soon for season 2 on Google Play and Apple.
Wait, so we're nearing our season finale. We're going to do 10 episodes, right? Yeah. We've got some juicy content for the last episode.
Yeah, can't wait.
Yeah. Thank
you guys.
Thanks,
guys.
Listening.
See you next time. Bye.